to the AZ Sports Zone on the IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Alden K, for episode 28 today. We'll be starting it off with the Phoenix Suns. The Suns traded their 2031 first-rounder to Utah for 3 first-rounders. We'll talk about the latest on the Jimmy Butler trade rumors. We'll talk about Bradley Beal willing to waive his no-trade clause for the right team. And Devin Booker is back after starting the season off with a slump. We'll move on to the Cardinals. Trey McBride had a little bit to say about the future of this team. We'll get into that a little bit. We'll talk about the draft as the Cardinals are picking 16th in this upcoming draft, and we'll talk about their needs. And then we'll close out this show talking briefly about the Diamondbacks. Paul Sewald signing with Cleveland. And then we'll talk about ASU football. ASU finishes 7th in the final rankings. And before we get into all of that, we will hear a word from all of our sponsors for the IE Sports Radio here on the AZ Sports Zone. Welcome to episode 28 on the IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sport.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clinking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
Welcome back to the AZ Sports Zone on the IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Alden K. Once again, big shout out to our sponsors, guys, all four of them. And very happy to be back here on another Friday for episode 28, talking Arizona sports with you guys. A lot of news regarding, well, at least one Arizona team, but definitely the Cardinals and Diamondbacks have been a little bit quiet, but we'll still talk about them for this episode. And of course, make sure to follow the X account that I run on the IE Sports Radio, guys, which is AZ Sports Zone IE, where if any Arizona sports news tends to break out, I'll retweet it. I'll give my thoughts on it, this and that. I'll do any of that. So when Jimmy Butler gets traded to Phoenix, I'll be the first one to, or at least I'll try to be the first one to give my thoughts on that. So make sure to follow that. But with that being said, let's get into the first segment for the Arizona sports, and we'll talk about the Phoenix Suns first. We'll get the big trendy news out of the way first. So a few days ago, the Phoenix Suns traded their 2031 first-round pick to the Utah Jazz for 3 first-rounders. And all of these picks that we traded for, we are not in control of, but they still are first-round picks. So the 2031 first-round pick was literally the only pick that we really had to give away. That was a first-rounder at least. And that was the only first-rounder we had control of because we gave all the previous ones up in trades for Kevin Durant. So with that being said, the first-round picks that we traded for were the 2025, 2027, and 2029. And those are picks from other teams originally. So where we pick regarding those 3 first-rounders is going to determine how bad other teams are or how good other teams are, vice versa. But there is a big chance that we don't have at least 2 of those first-round picks within, I don't know, maybe the next week or so, because we all know that the Suns are currently buyers in the trade deadline right now. Obviously, they're only 1 game above 500 right now. They're 10th in the West, but they are only a couple games still out from the playoffs. So that's how close the Western Conference is. Obviously the West has been pretty tough for these past few years. So, and they're also very close. At least in between the 6th seed and the play-in tournament, they are pretty close. So, the Suns still have plenty of time to change their team, get the needs that they want, get the players that they want and or need, and still make a little bit of a run at it. So, like I said though, this trade right here, it did definitely heat up a lot of rumors. It definitely did heat up a lot of potential trades that the Suns could make before the trade deadline is over. And obviously, a lot of it has to do with the whole Jimmy Butler trend. He still wants out of Miami, and Miami still wants to get rid of him. But we all know Pat Riley is going to be a knucklehead about it. So there's a lot to think about after this trade that the Suns made. Now, at first, I thought it was kind of funny when this trade first came out. I was like, we just traded away one first round pick for 3 first round picks. I mean, why would Utah even accept that? But obviously, you valued the 2031 pick because they have obviously the Jazz, they're a rebuilding team. They're going to try to get as many picks as they can. They already have a lot of picks, so they were kind of letting go of a little bit of the picks that they already had and then some a little bit. So, with this pick or with these 3 picks, 2025, 2027, and 2029. What I would hope the Suns do, this is what I hope. I know my opinion doesn't matter, only James Jones's opinion matters and Matt Ishbia. I get that. I personally hope that the Suns at least keep one of those picks, more preferably the 2025 first round pick, because obviously, this team is way over the budget. I know Matt Ishbia doesn't care about money, so maybe it doesn't matter, but these draft picks with the team that we have an aging team. We do have young players, but our team is mainly led by, Kevin Durant, who's getting up there, Bradley Beal, who might be traded soon, but if he doesn't, he's getting up there. Devin Booker is in his prime right now, but he is almost 30. So at the end of the day, we need to focus on the future while we're trying to build a championship caliber team while we still can for these next year or two. So I would hope that they at least keep the 2025 first round pick and maybe draft somebody in this upcoming draft. Kind of like how they did with their second round picks. They took Ryan Dunn. He's looking like a hidden gem that the Suns found. And Oso Iguodaro, who for the short amount of time he plays, he looks pretty good, especially on the rebounding part, which is what the Suns have struggled on for these past couple of years or so, or a few years. So I hope they at least keep the 2025 pick and draft somebody. Of course, they want Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler wants Phoenix. So for all we know, the Suns could get a little bit into a little bit of I guess, a little bit of a slump here regarding the trades, and they could maybe give up the 2025 pick for Butler, which is something that I hope they don't do, and I hope that it doesn't take that to get Jimmy Butler. Um, but literally, by the sounding of it, it's a matter of when, not if, when Jimmy Butler gets traded to Phoenix. That's what it's looking like. I mean, like I said, Pat Riley's going to be a knucklehead about it. We all know that. But regarding this trade, though, I could see the Suns trading at least the 27 and 29 first rounders in a potential 5-team trade to try to get Jimmy Butler. And that brings me to my next top ticker that I'll put right here, which is the latest on the Jimmy Butler rumors. I know I've kind of gotten into it a little bit as I was talking about the recent trade that the Suns made. But the latest on the Jimmy Butler rumors, obviously yesterday, it was reported that Jimmy Butler got suspended by the Miami Heat for another 2 games for missing a flight. And you could just tell he does not want to be in Miami anymore, and he is being an absolute goofball about it. So, obviously, there's been Jimmy Butler and Phoenix written all over it lately. From Jimmy Butler wearing Phoenix Suns color wave shoes to the Suns making the trade with Utah to Bradley Beal potentially willing to waive his no trade clause for the right team. It all has Jimmy Butler and Phoenix written all over it. But Shams did report that despite what people are saying and despite what the reports are, the Suns are not as close to a Jimmy Butler trade as people are making it out to be. Big reason for that is because Miami still does not want Bradley Beal, which is understandable. I mean, with that contract, with the amount of times, with the amount of games that he's missed, and just the way he's been playing for that kind of contract, I cannot blame the Miami Heat for not wanting Bradley Beal. I really can't blame it. I mean, why do you think the Wizards gave up nothing but or why do you think the Wizards only asked for second round picks for Bradley Beal? Because he wasn't worth it. Same thing for here in Phoenix. He's really not worth it right now. He's not worth the he really wasn't worth the money he's getting right now. So at the end of the day, it's understandable for the fact that it's going to be tough to get Jimmy Butler, and it's going to really depend on how much the Suns are going to want to give up. I know we all talk about that KD trade, how they gave up too much. It may be the same thing for Jimmy Butler, but you know, some tells me they're going to give up all 3 of the first round picks that they just got with Utah because Miami wants players that can contribute right now, and they also want draft capital for future purposes. So we're definitely going to have to give up at least 2, if not all 3 of those first round picks that the Suns just acquired. And if we do that, we will not have control of a first round pick until 2032, which is insane. I think the 2032 draft class is currently a bunch of what, 5th graders? I mean, come on. So, just no draft picks. Okay, I mean, I get it. Players that come out of the draft these days, they come into the NBA too early. So I kind of understand it. Maybe they don't trust the future of the draft. But hey, what do I know? If they're going to do this, do it the right way. If it's going to take 4 or 5 teams, you're going to have to give up picks. Houston Nurkic get thrown in there. Go ahead and do it. Just do it the right way. Don't do what you did with KD. Just don't do it. Oh, wait. Crap. A little bit of an add-on to that whole shenanigan. It was reported that Bradley Beal is willing to waive his no-trade clause only for the right team. Keyword, right team. His agent did reach out and say that those reports were fake, this and that. But then again, what else is he going to say, right? That Bradley Beal wants to get out of Phoenix. He's going to waive his no-trade clause, this and that. That pretty much gives away the fact if, they're going to get Jimmy Butler or not. But Milwaukee was one of the teams that Bradley Beal was willing to join, or at least that's what came out from the NBA Central X account. It wasn't Central. I double-checked. So it did come out and say that Bradley Beal is interested in Milwaukee. And there may be other teams that he is interested in, but at the same time, number one, those teams, chances are those teams are not interested in him. And number two, Bradley Beal does have a yes or no say in it, which is something if anybody deserves a no trade clause on the Phoenix Suns, it's either KD or Book. It's not Bradley Beal. Like, why did we have to take his contract? But at the end of the day, that's what Phoenix signed up for. They made their bed with it. Now they got to lie in it. So Bradley Beal does pretty much have a yes or no say in if the Suns will get Jimmy Butler, which is crazy. But it's going to really depend on what team is interested in him, which by the reports of it, there's not a single team that is interested in him. So there is a chance we may never even make a trade at all, unless it's for Houston Nurkic, trading him somewhere else. But then again, a lot of teams don't want him either. He fell off as well. So are the Suns kind of in a tough break here? Are they going to be able to trade either Nurkic or Bradley Beal? They may have to keep both of them because by the looks of it, there is not a single team out there that wants them. Rightfully so. They have not lived up to their name at all. The Suns literally traded for Nick Richards, and he has already contributed more to the Suns this season than what Nurkic has done as far as the rebounding segment. Nick Richards is the reason on why we don't give teams as many second chance opportunities anymore, which for the few Suns games that he's been on here, there has still somewhat been of a rebounding issue, obviously, with Mason Plumlee not playing up to, what the Suns want him to be, this and that. Not being able to box out their, defenders, this and that. Boxing out has been a big issue for Phoenix this season, the ability to box out and get the rebound. That's why they made the Nick Richards trade, so maybe I'm being a little bit too impatient, but we'll see if that gets better at least. But it is what it is. So let's just hope they make the right trades. If they can't make a trade, we're stuck with Bradley Beal and Nurkic. We're screwed. We're just screwed. It is what it is. Let's talk about Devin Booker a little bit. Okay. So, like a few or so-ish episodes ago, I talked about how Devin Booker was looking absolutely terrible. He started off the season pretty bad, like one of the worst starts I've ever seen in his career as a Suns fan, and that's saying something. So, but these last 10 games, Devin Booker has averaged 29 points, 7 assists, and 4 rebounds. That's a pretty fair outing in his last 10 games. Are these right? Okay, yeah, these are right. In his last 10 games, he has scored, not including the Sixers game. Well, yeah, including it because it's the last 10 games. He scored 10 points. That was his last terrible game. And then the previous 9 games, more specifically, he scored 39 points, 20 points, 34 points, 30 points, 35 points, 37 points, 35 points. Struggled against Cleveland, only scored 15, but then again, that was a blowout. And then he scored 32 against Brooklyn in their last game. So Devin Booker looks to be back, at least in the way we want him to be back. Kevin Durant keeps playing at a very high level, and basically those two are getting back on sync, which is something that we need. And as we get closer to the trade deadline, obviously our star player playing the best way he can possibly can is going to determine how good we can get going into this second half of the season. But the Suns finished at 500 in the halfway point of the season, so now the focus is on the trade deadline, right? What trades are we going to make? It all depends. That's going to determine how good this Phoenix Suns team finishes off their season. But Devin Booker looking really good again. It's a good start to something that we can really get better at. Like I said, we're only a couple games out of the playoffs. We may be 10th in the West, but we're only a couple games out right now. So we have an opportunity. So take every advantage of it if you make the right trade. Before we move on to the Cardinals, Kevin Durant named to his 15th All-Star appearance. And he is an All-Star starter. The reserves have not been named yet, so we're going to have to wait a little bit to determine if Devin Booker made it as a reserve. And it sucks because I feel like he is the best shooting guard in the West, but aside from maybe Anthony Edwards, but you get what I mean. And Kevin Durant is a starter, though. I've never really been a fan of the All-Star as a basketball fan, mainly because it's fan voting. And I feel like LeBron James, no matter how bad he is as he gets older, he's going to be automatically inserted into the All-Star starting category. I'm pretty sure SGA was a starter. He actually really deserved it. Kevin Durant was a starter as well. I think Steph Curry was a starter as well. which for a team that isn't doing any better than the Suns right now, I haven't really been hearing a lot of Steph Curry explosiveness this season. But then again, he is the best shooter in the world, so he's automatically going to be a starter. I forgot who the other starter was. It might have been Jokic. Correct me if I'm wrong. It might have been Jokic, but if it was, he obviously deserves it no matter what. So only about 3 players in there were really deserving, at least in my opinion. I mean, maybe 2. So my personal opinion, until the All-Star format is changed into a way where players who are starters actually deserve it. I mean, the All-Star starting lineup and stuff like that doesn't really matter. I think even the year Devin Booker looked like an MVP in 2022, I still don't think he was a starter in that All-Star. I still don't think he was. Correct me if I'm wrong. But even the very good MVP caliber years that Devin Booker has had, obviously he wasn't starting caliber this year, which we all knew was going to happen. But even the years he was All-Star starting caliber worthy, he didn't get in. Let's be real. Devin Booker isn't really that popular of an NBA player, at least compared to these other players. It just is what it is. But Kevin Durant is. So we all knew he was going to get in. But Kevin Durant has been probably the best player on our team this season, even though he's in his late 30s. He's aging. He's looking really good right now. So big props to Kevin Durant. His 15th All-Star appearance, and he is a starter for the Suns. He will be representing the West and the Phoenix Suns in the All-Star break for the Western Conference. So big shout out to that. And I do like how they changed it to East versus West again. I think that was the better format. So I think that was pretty cool. So good to know the NBA is at least trying, unlike the NFL, when it comes to the Pro Bowl and shit like that. So, but that is it for the Phoenix Suns. That was a very good and very long segment. We will talk a lot more about the Suns next week. Next Friday, we'll probably Jimmy Butler may be a Sun by then. By next Friday, on my next show, we may have to talk about that. We may be talking about Jimmy Butler coming to Phoenix. We never know. We'll see. But when we're going to go into a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the Arizona Cardinals. Trey McBride spoke about the future of the team a little bit. And, of course, we'll talk about the NFL draft a little bit as well. And, obviously, the Cardinals are picking at 16th. We'll talk about who they could use in the draft. We'll continue to talk about the Cardinals on that segment. But when we get back from the break, we will talk about that. Once again, you're watching the AZ Sports Zone on the IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, sports fans. It's me, your boy Larry B, and I want to walk you through the world of sports. No, not just the mainstream major TV deal type sports, although those are important too. But let me be your guide for your journey of all sports, from college to the pros, the minors, and everything in between. Each week, we are talking sports galore with true diehards just like you from a hardcore fan's perspective that's sure to quench your thirst around leagues you may know all too well and some you may even discover here. That's right, sports fans. If you love sports of all kinds, enjoy hearing amazing sports stories, and respect all sports because you know how difficult any of them can be to play or compete in, then this is your show. Join me, your boy Larry B, on the defining moment each week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports, and let the sports come to you.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Welcome back to the AZ Sports Zone on the IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Once again, if you guys are just now tuning in, we just covered the Phoenix Suns. We talked a lot about the Jimmy Butler trade rumors that continue to grow, and we talked about Bradley Beal and Houston Nurkic still on the chopping block. And of course, Kevin Durant being named to his 15th All-Star appearance, and Devin Booker getting back on track regarding his scoring ability. So it was good to see that. And big shout out to Mike and Larry. Make sure to check out their shows. I just played their video drops. So make sure to check out their shows, and not just their shows, but if you guys ever have free time, if you guys ever have a chance to go on anyone's shows here on the IU Sports Radio, make sure to check them out. We have a bunch of amazing hosts, guys, a bunch of people who have a bunch of sports knowledge regarding any sport in any city, any team. We pretty much have it. So make sure to check them out. But let's talk about the Cardinals a little bit. Okay, so the Cardinals. Obviously, the right now the focus regarding NFL is on the playoffs, and the Cardinals are never going to be in it. So obviously, we're not very trendy right now regarding the news. But while the Cardinals media is quiet, I kind of want to talk about Trey McBride a little bit. He did have some words to say about the future of the Cardinals, and I think it was actually very motivating going into next season. So he basically had a sit down interview. They were talking a little bit about Marvin Harrison Jr. And his bend but not break type of rookie season. They talked about just more so the future of this team in general. And Trey McBride basically, in a motivating way, said that he can't wait to get to the postseason next year and be a force to reckon with for the upcoming years of the Cardinals. Okay, so I think it was very interesting to talk about because this team has the mentality that they're going to get to the playoffs next season, which is something that I didn't really see a whole lot during the Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray era, um, or terrible if that's what you want to call era, I guess. But um, obviously, with that being said, I cannot wait for this Arizona Cardinals team next year. I don't remember the last time I said that. With the comments that Trey McBride made, he also brought up Marvin Harrison Jr. and how his rookie season wasn't really it was acceptable, but it wasn't really what a whole lot of NFL fans were hoping for, including obviously the Cardinal fans. Obviously, I think the Cardinals fan base, including myself, I'm not excluding myself from this, but we had a little bit too big of a prediction for Marvin Harrison Jr. Rightfully so. I mean, you take this guy fourth overall. Uh, People were comparing him to Larry Fitzgerald, and he's going to be bigger than Larry Fitzgerald, this and that. What people don't want to bring up is, the fact that it's crazy, but it's true. Obviously, 2004 was a very long time ago, but um, Marvin Harrison Jr. had a better rookie year than what Larry Fitzgerald had. Believe it or not, it's true. Marvin Harrison Jr. had more yards, more touchdowns. I think Larry had more receptions, actually, but uh, basically an identical rookie year to Larry Fitzgerald. And we all know what Larry Fitzgerald turned into. Second all-time in receiving yards, most receptions with one team in NFL history. One of the best receivers of all time, basically. So I think with Marvin Harrison Jr., what Trey McBride said is we were happy with the season he had this season, but next year is going to be even better. So we need to give Marvin Harrison Jr. some more time. That's basically what Trey McBride said in a nutshell. So, yeah, and you know, after listening to an actual teammate talk about Marvin Harrison Jr., I do kind of understand it now, and I do agree with it. I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. just wasn't a rookie exploder like Justin Jefferson was, like certain other guys like Brian Thomas were. Malik Neighbors, even though he didn't really have a quarterback, he still had over 1,000 yards. So Marvin Harrison Jr., just give him another year, he'll clean it up. That's basically what was said. And of course, Kyler Murray, too. Kyler Murray's mentality every year is to go win a title. Obviously, his play on the field doesn't really live up to that, or at least that's what it's looked like. But hey, give him another year. He'll clean it up. And same thing with Trey McBride as well. He's coming off a very big breakout year in year two, or year two. So, with that being said, obviously Trey McBride is going to be one of the best tight ends in the league for years to come. It's going to be very interesting to see, or year three, excuse me, Trey McBride. We do have to worry about paying certain guys like that here very soon. But like I said, they have the money to do it. I feel like I say this every episode. They have the money to do it. It just depends on how much money Michael Bidwill's willing to spend. We all know he's probably one of the dumbest owners in the National Football League, so it all just really depends on what he's willing to do. Nothing you can do about it. If a guy owns a team, it's his choice. So we'll see what happens there. So, okay. This doesn't really have a lot to do with the Cardinals. It does. I kind of want to talk about this a little bit. So, for the record, I got nothing against Washington. I actually like Jane Daniels. He's former ASU. I actually like Jane Daniels a lot. So, but Cardinal fans, obviously, Cliff Kingsbury is the offensive coordinator for the Commanders, and they're about to play in an NFC Championship game against the Eagles. And a lot of Cardinal fans keep on saying that after all of this, Cliff Kingsbury was not the problem in Arizona. I mean, okay. It's kind of funny how Cardinal fans were scapegoating, but actually blaming Cliff Kingsbury for the issues that the Cardinals had from 2019 to 2022. It's kind of funny how their opinions quickly switched up a little bit. Cardinal fans, Cliff Kingsbury was a terrible head coach. Okay? He was the issue in Arizona. And I'm not solely blaming him. That's not what I'm doing at all. A lot of it has to do with Cliff Kingsbury. A lot of it has to do with Steve Keim. A lot of it has to do with Kyler Murray. I'm not solely blaming Cliff Kingsbury at all. But for certain Cardinal fans out there to say that Cliff Kingsbury was not the issue after all, do you guys remember the decisions he made as a head coach? You can be a very good offensive coordinator, but be a terrible head coach. We've seen it with Cliff Kingsbury. We've seen it with Josh McDaniels. We've seen it with so many other coordinators in the NFL that turned out to be terrible head coaches. We've seen it. Cliff Kingsbury is just another product of that. Dan Quinn, their head coach, he's built that defense. He's been able to build a culture in Washington. He is the reason Washington is succeeding, or at least he's a bigger reason compared to Cliff Kingsbury. People want to blame this guy. People want to actually give Cardinals fan. And listen, I get it. Cardinals fans have different opinions. Some Cardinals fans want Kyler Murray out, some want to keep him. For me personally, I don't know what I want to do with Kyler Murray if I'm the Cardinals. I feel like the Cardinals are going to give him. They're obviously going to give him another year. I personally don't think he deserves it. He hasn't really lived up to it. But Kyler Murray is going to get one more chance in Arizona. But Cardinals fans, like some of the Cardinals fan base, their odd hate for Kyler Murray is so blinding that they're willing to prop up a head coach or a former head coach that absolutely destroyed this team. This guy called long 3rd and 20 screenplays. He was a horrible game manager. There were certain decisions in the fourth quarter that he would make that would end up costing us to lose a game, or even more than that. But as a coordinator, he is making Jane Daniels look decent as far as play calling. They did go to Detroit, put up 45 points. I'll give him that. They did beat Tampa in Tampa. I'll give him that. Even if they somehow win the Super Bowl this year, which I don't think they're going to get past Philly. I do hope they get past Philly, but I don't think they will. So, but for Cardinals fans to say that Cliff Kingsbury is no longer the issue that the Cardinals had, that's kind of a stretch. There's a reason we fired this guy right after paying him. Right after paying him, the Cardinals fired him. And Steve Keim got let go because he had kidney issues. Cardinal fans, some Cardinals fans, I'm not saying the entire fan base, but some Cardinals fans do make me laugh in that standard because Cliff Kingsbury was an issue. He's just a very good offensive coordinator. That's how it is. And why do you think Cliff Kingsbury is not getting a head coaching job as of right now? It's because of the fact that he was a terrible head coach. There were so many rumors he was going to go to Chicago. He was going to go to the Raiders. He was going to this and that, this and that. No, he isn't going to any team. So if I'm the Cardinals fans, I would just move on from Cliff Kingsbury. Just focus on this team. Focus on Jonathan Gannon and what this team has in store. Just do that. It is what it is, though. So let's move on. I kind of talked about that little, segment that I had my opinion on a little bit. At the end of the day, it's just kind of funny. So let's talk about the NFL draft. So for those of you guys that don't know, the Cardinals are picking at 16th, which is very, it is pretty new, honestly. We're so used to picking in the top 10. But this time we're picking in the middle of the pack, literally the middle of the pack, 16th. So out of 32. So there are some guys that we could use big time on the defensive line, maybe the offensive line, but you can maybe draft later. The Cardinals have 5 picks in this draft, which is very much different compared to what they had last season when they had, I think, like 11 or 12. So they only have 5 picks in this draft. Very different. And with the large amount of picks we had in last year's draft, we kind of had a disappointing rookie class this year, but we'll see if they can clean it up in year 2. And that does include Marvin Harrison Jr. So I kind of want to talk about some players that they could get. A lot of them involve the defense. Jalen Walker, linebacker out of Georgia. I think he could really improve the Cardinals' defense, more so the pass rush. Pass rush was a very big issue regarding the Cardinals last season. Not just that, but the fact that we also have to worry about re-signing Dennis Gardeck, which I'll probably talk about next week. I did talk about the free agents a little bit in my last episode, but Dennis Gardeck does remain one of the Cardinals' biggest free agents. So let me know let me know what you guys think about Dennis Gardeck. Do you think the Cardinals should re-sign him, or do you think that another team is going to offer him more and he should go there? Let me know what you guys think about that. But Jalen Walker is a really good guy from Georgia. I think that they can take a chance on if he is available at 16. Being able to get to the quarterback and develop the pass rush is something that Jonathan Gannon is a big fan of because, he did come from a big ramped up Philadelphia Eagles defense, and he somewhat brought that scheme over to Arizona when the Cardinals first hired him. So obviously the Cardinals should look at defense. Hopefully they don't draft another receiver or anything like that. It would just be so annoying. Defensive line, run defense, pass rush is what they should be looking at for number 16. Kenneth Grant from Michigan is another good one too. As far as the run defense goes, I think Kenneth Grant could really impact all of that. And, Kenneth Grant would bolster up the run defense big time. So I gave you a good pass rushing option with Jalen Walker. Kenneth Grant with the run defense would be very good too. Now the question is, which one is the bigger issue regarding the Cardinals? I'd say the run defense, especially because we're in a division where they have a lot of good running offense. Obviously, we got the Niners with CMC coming back. We got the Seahawks with Kenneth Walker. We got the Rams with Kyron Williams and Blake Corum. And of course, there's us with James Conner, Trey Benson. So the NFC West has a lot of good running offense. Soon to be Cam Scatterboot. No, I'm just kidding. Hopefully, I mean, there's a little bit of hope in there that really I do really hope for. But those are the two players that if I'm Arizona, I would look at just so we have a good starting point on the fixing the defense, which the defense did look good for the second half of the season last year, but obviously they still showed a lot of weaknesses like, the run defense and the pass rush. We'll see what happens in that sense. But I am interested to see what the Cardinals do at 16. We're so used to picking high, but this time we're not. So it's going to be very interesting on what they do. But that is it for the Cardinals segment, guys. When we're going to go into our second and last break. When we come back, we will talk about the Arizona Diamondbacks. Paul Sewald is signing with the Cleveland Guardians. And then we'll finish it off with ASU football. ASU finished 7th in the final rankings. I'll give my thoughts on that. When we come back, once again, you're watching the AZ Sports Zone on the IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
The light is red, the kids are in bed, which means it is time for Mile High Musings with me, Aaron Yowell, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Cleveland and Columbus sports fans. This is Jen B, host of the Show of the Land on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. If you love Cleveland and Columbus sports like I do, be sure to tune in live to the Show of the Land on Tuesdays, where we will cover the Cleveland Browns, Cavs, Guardians, and Monsters. We will also talk about the Columbus Blue Jackets, Crew, Fury, and of course, the Ohio State Buckeyes. We'll also cover other colleges in the area like Akron, Kent State, Cleveland State, Mount Union, John Carroll, Baldwin Wallace, Youngstown State, among others. So like I said, if you love Cleveland and Columbus sports like I do, be sure to tune in Tuesdays to the Show of the Land with Jen B on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Welcome back to the AZ Sports Zone on the IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all of that is sports. So we just covered the Arizona Cardinals, future of the team, draft needs, and what to look forward to for next season. Hopefully more Cardinals news breaks out in the upcoming week as we get closer to the draft and maybe see what happens. And make sure to check out Aaron and Jen's shows with the Mile High and with Cleveland as well. Just play their video drops. Make sure to check them out. And regarding Cleveland or Ohio in general, Jen, I don't know if you're listening. Congrats on Ohio State winning it all. I knew they were going to beat Notre Dame. It was actually Ohio State was just the better team, but Notre Dame, they really had a great year. So big shout out to Ohio State. Congrats on winning it all. I'm just glad Texas didn't win it after they got lucky against us. But anyway, so and speaking of Cleveland, wow. So so for the Diamondbacks, Paul Sewald signs with the Cleveland Guardians. And I mean, it is what it is. Paul Sewald had a rough year last season. He started the season off pretty good, but it just went to crap. It, his season after that was just brutal. It was brutal. So obviously the Diamondbacks are looking at the future with Justin Martinez potentially being the closer for this upcoming season. And AJ Puck, Kevin Ginkel still on the team. Regarding the bullpen, they brought back Ryan Thompson, Kyle Nelson after he's coming off of an injury. Still don't know if they're going to make another pull at it for a reliever. They missed out on a couple trade opportunities regarding a reliever, so they might go into the season with what they have right now. But obviously, there's still plenty of time left. We'll see if they make any more moves. But Paul Sewald is signing with the Cleveland Guardians on a one-year deal. And I get it. A lot of Diamondback fans were, bashing him a lot last season. He was the reason we kind of missed the playoffs, actually, with the amount of blown games that he had. But I just want to take this time to say that us Diamondback fans, we should really appreciate Paul Sewald for the short time he was in Arizona. You can talk about his year last season all you want. I understand that. But in 2023, this guy gave us something to remember. This guy was a big reason on why we got to the World Series in 2023. So, from shutting down the Philadelphia Phillies, powerhouse batting lineup, shutting down the Dodgers in the playoffs and the Brewers. He did have a rough World Series against the Rangers, but he's the reason why we got there in the first place. If it wasn't for Paul Sewald, there would not have been no National League Championship banner hanging up at Chase Field right now. There just wouldn't be. So with that being said, I will appreciate Paul Sewald for the rest of my life on his contributions to getting us to the World Series in 2023. So Paul Sewald, I know you had a rough ending in Arizona, but best of luck to you in Cleveland. hopefully you do clean things up before you go off into the sunset and retire. So Cleveland, take care of Paul Sewald. I do appreciate him. I know a lot of Diamondback fans might not appreciate him anymore, but I do. So take good care of him for us. Snakes fans, I do appreciate him. But anyway, so that's all we got for the Diamondbacks. We'll see if any more news breaks out. Obviously, we talked a lot about Corbin Burns in the last couple episodes. We'll see how things continue to develop. And if the Diamondbacks make any more moves, we'll talk about it next Friday. Obviously, this is probably the dead period in sports right now, honestly, or at least for Arizona sports. But to close out this episode, we got a few minutes left until I hit the hour mark. So Arizona State finishes 7th on the final college football rankings. 7th place. I think that is a fair, very fair ranking. Obviously, Arizona State, they went above and beyond expectations this season, winning the Big 12, getting into the college football playoffs on a first-round bye. Unfortunately, losing in a very brutal way to the Texas Longhorns, but they finished 7th in the final rankings. I think that's a very respectable rank. With Cam Scatterbo being our MVP this season, he is now going into the NFL, so we have a lot to look forward to regarding the future of the players in the backfield. The improvement of Sam Leavitt as he heads into his second year in ASU. Jordan Tyson is coming back, which is very huge. A bunch of our guys on defense are coming back as well. And of course, Kenny Dillingham is going to keep improving this program as much as he can. So it's definitely something to look forward to. 7th, good way to close out the college football season for ASU. Can't wait to talk about the ASU basketball team coming up. And of course, U of A, as U of A not only got their U of A is obviously on a basketball streak right now. We'll talk about that as we get farther into the college basketball season, and as we are, 2 months away from March Madness, or less than 2 months away from March Madness. So we'll talk about that a lot. But ASU finishes 7th on the final college football rankings. Very respectable, and I'm very proud of this team. Very proud of ASU. Got a lot to look forward to. High expectations next season. Hopefully ASU can take advantage of those expectations and get back into the playoffs. And this time deliver. It would be nice to see us do something in the college football playoffs instead of just being a one and done. So hopefully they can get better next season. But guys, this has been episode 28 on the AZ Sports Zone. I want to thank everybody who were able to tune in a little bit. I didn't get a lot of people, but if you guys are watching this episode during your free time, appreciate it. We covered a lot regarding the Suns, Cardinals, and Diamondbacks, and we briefly discussed ASU football. Once again, guys, I want to thank you guys for tuning in to the AZ Sports Zone on the IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We will be back at it next Friday. The time is to be determined, but I may be going live instead of 1 o'clock, but we'll see what happens. Hopefully by next week we get a lot more Suns news regarding the Jimmy Butler trade, and who knows, Jimmy Butler might be a Phoenix Sun next week when I go live. We never know, but we'll find out. Regarding the Diamondbacks, we'll see if they make any more news, and of course the Cardinals, we'll see if any more news breaks out, but if not, I'll think of some more topics to discuss. Next Friday, I will be back at it. We'll see what happens regarding Arizona sports world. But once again, thank you guys for tuning in to the AZ Sports Zone. This has been episode 28 on the IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Alden K. We will see you guys next Friday at 1 o'clock, maybe even a different time. We'll see what happens. But thank you guys for tuning in to episode 28. Have an amazing weekend. Best of luck for any team for football that is still in the playoffs. Best of luck to you guys. See you guys next Friday. Have a great weekend. We're out.